I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
He is terrible!
I think it was goblin fucking wieners and buns.
I'm gonna go quick because I don't give a fuck about anything that's gonna happen on Saturday.
Welcome back. MMA Analysis. Big event this past weekend. And no, I'm not talking about the fights. I'm talking about the aforementioned, the guy that we shouldn't name, the Tennessee Vixen, almost losing his life due to his aluminum siding melting and nearly creating terminal cancer. If you check out the interwebs, you can certainly find video of the man with the self-proclaimed largest forearms in MMA podcasting, Lance Fishel, doing some interviews, about just a wacky situation. You can reach out to Lance. You've probably seen him talk about it and tweet about it, but yeah, like his neighbor burnt down his house on purpose. Just wild stuff. Anyway, I'm joined today by two of my co-hosts. I believe Dougie is back in training once again. He's gotten his BJJ itch. He's going to be the next Royce Gracie or the next Kron. I don't know, but things are going well for him. It seems like every few weeks he's showing us a new medal, so he's back at it. But with me today, we got first the Kentucky Sodsman, Wes Colvin. What's happening?
Yeah, Dougie is way closer to Kron than he would be Royce. Trust me. That's from personal experience with my homeboy there. Pretty good, man. Coming off a pretty awesome card last week, man. Kind of look forward to talking about that as much as breaking down this card, so it should be fun.
And we got one half of the Canadian duo, the Canadian teenager, New Sean. I hear you're coming back to the States once again. Is that true? Going back to Vegas again?
Yep.
You get addicted to this thing or something?
No.
We're gonna have to call 1-800-GAMBLER on you?
Well, it's gonna be a little bit of a different experience. I'm going there with my girlfriend, so it's not gonna be a degenerate weekend like it was with us last year, but should be good. Do some gambling, do some sightseeing, and partake in all the legal things that are in Vegas.
So you're gonna bang a bunch of prostitutes? You're banging a bunch of prostitutes? Is that what I hear?
Sure. If that comes up, do that.
And Dominic Cruz is out of his fight with Jimmy Rivera. So we got.
My God!
What is going on here? And
we
Lineker
can't have good things. We can't have
Lineker. So I'm reading this now as we do our show. This is live off the Telegram.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently John Lineker is being offered the fight against Jimmy Rivera instead, which would be pretty amusing. Ooh. Apparently Dominic Cruz broke his arm. I have no idea. The man is so brittle. Ugh. Tough times.
Wrap Dom in bubble wrap when he's not fighting. Seriously.
Yeah, seriously. He is freaking. He should be. He is Bubble Boy. It's bad. And then unrelated injury news. Another pay-per-view was affected. That came out Wednesday afternoon. Frankie Edgar injury. He's out of the main event against Maxwell Holloway. UFC. I don't know what number that is. Is that 218? I think it's 218.
In Detroit.
Right? Yeah. In Detroit, Michigan. No opponent yet named for Max. I'll start with you, Wes. Who do you want to see him face? And then I guess related to that, who do you think Max faces?
I mean, there's not a whole lot, I guess. I guess you would have to do the auto rematch. I guess Cub got mentioned, but he's saying he'll do it, but he wants to renegotiate his contract, and that's probably not going to happen. Who wants to really see that fight anyway, though? Do we really want to see Max just style on Cub? Nah. I'd like to see the Aldo fight again. I thought it was pretty close for a little bit. Max probably wins it again, but I mean, what's the option out there? I don't really know what you have this close at 45. So Aldo, I guess.
New Sean, same two questions.
The answer is Darren the Damage Elkins, obviously.
Wait, which answer? Answer to what? What you want to see or what you think they'll do? Don't tell me both.
Oh,
you want the show? You're already in travel mode.
So Elkins is like the only guy in the top 10 that doesn't have a fight and coming off a win and hasn't already fought Holloway. But no, they're not going to do that. They should do the Aldo fight. I mean, I know people don't like that, but Aldo looked good in that fight the first couple of rounds. I know he gassed. He didn't throw leg kicks. It's just there's not really much better options, I think, if they do the Cub thing, which I guess that's what they're going to have to do. He's just going to get murdered by Holloway again. But yeah, people don't like Aldo for many reasons. I enjoy when he fights, so I would like that, but I doubt that happens. But Holloway's up for Holloway tweeted that if he has to do the rematch, he's down for it. So it's not like he's
Max is fucking awesome.
And like who else is going to headline a pay-per-view? Like at least Aldo's done that before.
Yeah. Max literally is like, I don't care who it is. that kid's awesome, man. He does not give a fuck, dude.
Yeah, what the Canadian doesn't realize is that you can actually break contracts in fighting. So, I mean, just because Elkins is the only one available doesn't mean that he's going to be the one that Max is going to fight. So they'll break some other fight contract, probably Cub and Ortega. So I think they're going to have him face Cub because Cub is a name, and I think they kind of want to do that. They want to reward him for like that Duho Choi and the Artem stuff, and they might do that opportunity, even though Max already ran through Cub Swanson like 2 years ago. I think it was a Fox card. So I don't get why they would do that, but it seems like they will do that.
There's just no good options. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
The best option, I think, is probably Brian Ortega, just because he's been on a decent winning streak. He offers something different, a different kind of attack, and he hasn't faced Max Holloway yet, so it would be like a fresh matchup. But I don't think they want to have Max Holloway's first title defense against a guy who's never been in that spotlight either. I don't think that makes any sense. They'd rather just save the matchup for another day. So I think they'll do Cub. I guess Aldo's interesting, but I don't know if I really want that for Aldo either. I just think that's a disaster because he loses again, and it's like kind of ugly. Yeah. It's like, I don't think after the way he lost first time in so long, kind of the way he was finished, he was kind of beaten up per se. Let Aldo build up his confidence back, get a win under his belt, and then maybe do that matchup sometime next year. So
gotta love how we have just a really fun, awesome card, and it kind of breathes some life into fighting, and then a couple days later, it's taken away.
I think Jimmy Rivera, John Lineker is way funner than him and Dom. Actually, I think that would just be fucking a crazy fight.
I agree with that.
I hope that comes together.
I just hope Jimmy doesn't wrestle him.
Yeah,
because
I think that's
but it happened kind of with Almeida, and Almeida had Jimmy in trouble a few times though. Lineker, a little different animal, Yeah,
it'd be fun. That's a fun, fresh matchup for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what that ultimately does, though. It's like a fun matchup, but
that doesn't.
I mean, what
does that?
What do you do?
If Rivera beats Lineker, I mean, that kind of puts him.
Oh, I agree, but if
Lineker,
right. But what happens if Lineker wins then?
I think he's right there again too, though, right?
He just got ran through by Dillashaw not too long ago.
Yeah, well, I guess he has to fight Cruz or he has to fight Garbrandt or something.
Yeah.
Right. I guess the Garbrandt matchup would be the more.
I mean, that was supposed to happen a while ago, and we were licking our chops at that one. So.
Yeah, let the winner of those two fight Garbrandt. Winner gets a title shot.
Or if Lineker wins, like he kind of waits, and then Garbrandt faces or Garbrandt rematches with Dillashaw. I mean, they could still definitely do that.
He's not getting
brutal.
Why not?
Because he won. He didn't even defend his belt. What are we giving rematches for?
Well, he had, but you got okay. I guess
TJ and DJ's fighting. They're gonna make that fight. I think
I would like to see that fight.
I think it's gonna happen. Because DJ really now that he got the record and everything, I think he can think about that.
Yep.
You can, and DJ ain't had that humongous payday yet. I think they could entice him with something that could get him to fight TJ, but we'll see. There's a lot of matchups down there, man. Like the lower weight classes are just so fucking loaded now.
Yep.
I agree with that. Anyway, let's get into this last fight card, UFC 217, arguably the fight card of the year, for sure. Started off with quite a bang on the preliminary card. Brazilian Ricardo Ramos lands a spinning back elbow that literally just took out Reese Zahabi's brother.
Back to back.
He might have killed
back to back spinning elbows.
If one wasn't enough, he's done it twice.
And then a guy becoming one of my favorites in the heavyweight division, Curtis Blades, taking out old man Oleinik. Weird issue here with the stoppage. And this was first time I've ever seen instant replay used twice on a fight card. That was definitely a record. I'm glad that it exists though, because we get it should help with results, with those kind of things moving forward. So I'll get your guys' thoughts on that, and then the concept of the replay as well. Wes, up first.
Card started off great, man. I will say I've watched it a long time, man. This is a really memorable card. I saw people talk all week about kind of ranking different cards and stuff. There's been other cards I think that had better fights. Yeah, and strings of fights, but just sheer shock value and three titles. Yeah, 3 titles changing hands and just knockouts and violence and crazy shit happening. This card ranks easily in my top 5. It's got to be there. So you could split hairs on a bunch of other shit, but it was really good card. And it started great. That double spinning back elbow was fucking awesome. And then Blades, man. We said it, Jay, that him and Blades and Hogano will probably fight a couple times more. But I like Blades a lot, man. But he gets hit, man. He's got a great chin though. Well, he does until you get hit by an 18-inch hog. You know what I'm saying? But he
survived a long time with Francis Ngannou, didn't he? Yeah. Was he even KO'd in that fight?
No, it was a doctor stoppage from his eye.
It was a doctor stoppage.
He got mangled. Yeah, dude, his face got mangled. But that's going to be his problem with Ngannou if he doesn't improve that defense, man. He's gonna face the same shit. But I like Blades a lot, man. You're right. And then I'm always down for the replay if they're gonna use it right. I believe in this instance they just got how who to reward the fight to, right? But man, I don't know, man. The doctor was in there stopping fight. I think they have a problem with the doctors and the ref up there in New York more than the replay. You got a bunch of morons using this system and shit. So if you got the right people running it right and making the right decisions, it's going to be good for the sport.
You, Sean?
Yeah, I sprinkled a tiny bet on Zahabi. It was looking all right until that happened. Zahabi's one of those guys that has just really, really good fight intelligence, but his just skills and athleticism are never going to be in that upper echelon. So he's going to kind of lose to the guys that can, land and throw some creative shit and stuff like that. But that was a pretty brutal knockout. He was down for a long time. And then the Blades fight, I bet Blades pretty big at the opener. I kind of expected a little bit more from Blades. I don't think his striking has kind of progressed as quickly as I thought. I mean, I know he's a wrestler, but I thought he'd be able to put it on Oleinik a little more. But Oleinik is a tough bastard, so he can definitely take some shit. I was losing my shit when that got stopped, and I thought I was going to lose my bet because he got his ear kicked. And I was just like, am I seriously going to get fucked here? And luckily,
I thought I was.
And luckily, they actually made the right call. They're like, yep, this was an illegal strike, but it did nothing. And the doctor was like, he cannot continue because he got fucked up before the illegal strike. So I know we like to see knockouts and big violence, but I mean, Oleinik was pretty fucked up at that point, and it wasn't from that kick. So it was a okay doctor stoppage, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably correct. The only issue I have with the replay is that I have a feeling more referees there's gonna be more fights stopped, and then once they can go to the replay, that means the fight ends.
Yeah, it's already done.
That's why they got to be careful.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's a little bit worrisome in some way, but at the same time, it'll probably keep fighters more fresh. I mean, I don't know how many times this is potentially going to, this thing's going to be utilized, but I mean, it helps fighters get to the next day and, return to the cage ultimately faster, and, which I think is probably a good thing, at least for our entertainment perspective. So there's that, and how that affects results over time, certainly remains to be seen, but there's definitely some questions about it. I liked how it was used in this case, the Walt Harris thing, which, I guess we'll get to later on. I guess we can kind of, we'll kind of get to that as well. Even though I didn't really like the result end up being the way it was, I thought it was fair. So, but I'll let you guys get to that in a bit. Preliminary card on TV. Decent card for sure. Randy Brown getting the best of Mickey Gall, somehow out grappling him. Consensus bet lost, unfortunately, by decision. Osp losing, or at a minimum 1-1, probably down 2 rounds. Head kicks Corey Anderson into oblivion. Then the aforementioned Walt Harris losing by DQ, a rare DQ defeat, which the replay saw, and I probably got it right, against Godbeer. Godbeer getting a win, sort of, kind of, asterisk, against Walt Harris. And then maybe, certainly a surprise for our show, 0-2, James Vick using his reach, and then TKOing Joe Duffy at the buzzer of round 2. Let's start with Sean on these fights. Synopsis here.
Mickey Gall can't get out from the bottom. He's good on top, but he needs to work on his bottom game. Just get up or throw up some shit, because he was getting dominated by Randy Brown. I thought for sure after that second round, when he kind of got a second win and smashed Brown in the second, that we were looking good. But yeah, when you can't get out from underneath and you get smashed, there's not much. Mickey Gall definitely can take a beating. That's one thing we know for him for the future, but he's got to work on some things. Corey Anderson, another highlight reel knockout. Oh man, this guy, he can do.
He knows how to go out in style, don't he?
He does. Holy shit! Like he does lots of things well for his athleticism and his skills, but he can't do much about that chin. And OSP, he's a weird fighter. Like you said, he was probably down 0-2 and then just pulls it out. I just can't bet on that guy or bet against him. I just can't figure him out. Walt Harris, These refs got to get in the fucking middle of these fights and stop it, because I don't think Walt Harris heard him trying to stop that fight. That's a tough way to lose a minus 300 bet. Oh man. And that's why I kind of stay clear. It seems like heavyweight, there's just weird shit happens and there's some pretty big volatility. So unless I see something, stand out really big, I try to steer clear of heavyweights. Vic did well, he put away Joe Duffy. That's pretty damn impressive. I don't think Joe Duffy's progressing like we thought he was. I don't know if he gassed or what, but he really shut it down in that second round. In the first round, his boxing was looking crisp, but that second round, I don't know what happened there, but I guess Vic will finally get his top 10 fighter, and we'll see how his defense, his tall man defense, can do against somebody that can hit pretty good.
Wes.
Yeah, I got the golf fight wrong, and like Sean said, at the end of that second, I was pretty much 99% sure I was going to win that bet. Then, like at the beginning of the third, he got that takedown, and like Sean said, Gall just cannot get up from the bottom. Yeah, good on Randy Brown, our boy, best bro. With a 7-unit bet on Randy. Can't knock it. Got to give props on that. Yeah, man, Corey Anderson shows like flashes of like really good skills, don't he? And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm going out in a blaze, man. And yeah, like Sean said, man, OSP is just so hard to read. The guy looks like he's really good, man, and I don't know, he just sometimes doesn't show up. Like you said, he was probably down 0-2 in this fight.
I thought his striking looked good throughout the fight. It's just a matter of staying on the feet.
Yeah, he shows really good skills, man, at times. You just never know. I mean, it's not even fight to fight. It's like minute to minute in fights,
He also doesn't throw enough.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like Sean said, man, these refs, you can't, like, you got a guy, and you got to figure these are heavyweights too. Dudes that literally can hit you with one blow and injure shit. You're in the middle of 15, 20,000 screaming people throwing fucking fists with some 250-pound dude. You ain't hearing some fucking ref behind you yelling, stop, grabbing you on the shoulder. I mean, come on, dude. I got fight doesn't go, which I'm okay with that. I said on the show last week, Walt Harris shouldn't be minus 300 or 400 against anybody, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. He was freight training in that fight too. So, and man, yeah, Duffy looked really good in the first. I thought. I mean, I thought he was on his way to piecing Vic up for 3 rounds. I mean, he got caught with a nice uppercut at the end of that second, man. But like Sean said, he did slow down in the second. I don't know if he was taking a round off or he started to gas a little bit, but he didn't do much in the second and then just got caught with something, man. And I thought it was still kind of a shitty stoppage. I mean, he was
trying to he was protecting himself. And especially at that time, like, there was 1 second
refs left. Yeah, I mean, and I believe Big John has said on Twitter before that refs realize in the last 10 seconds of a round, they hear the sticks. You know what I'm saying? Unless a guy's like severely hurt, they usually give them their time. They know they're going to make that bell and then check them at the bell. If they're really hurt, they can stop the fight. You know what I'm saying? That ref jumped in way too quick, man. He got dropped and was probably a little hurt, but he was grabbing Vic's arms and was grabbing the ref's leg trying to pull guard and stuff. I mean, he wasn't out of it. So I thought that was a pretty bad stoppage, but yeah, good win for Vic either which way. But I'm telling you, I will fade that kid so many times because he does some things well. He uses his length well. I'll give him that. But I'm telling you, he got pieced up by a decent boxer. Any dude that hits with a little bit of power and has some boxing like Duffy is going to hurt him. I mean, we've seen him, co-cocked and knocked out. It's going to happen again, and I'll be on the person when it happens. So,
or you're going to go broke fucking on the way to it.
every time. Yeah.
Every time, all the time. Yeah, that's right. Moving up to the main card. Yeah, the chiseled bronze statue, Paulo Little Drunk Costa,
the drunk one.
The drunk one, taking out Johnny Hendricks by TKO in the second round. I think this kind of went as we expected it to. I'll ask both of you guys, is this Johnny Hendricks' last fight in the UFC? Wes, yes or no?
The UFC? Nah, I think he gets another one.
Holy shit.
I think he gets another one.
Yeah, I think he's done. I mean, I think he's done, period. I don't think even Bellator wants him. He's beyond finished, and he can't make 170. He's way undersized for 185, and even with that win against Lombard, he's done.
And he seems like he's fucking insane.
Yes, he's if he wants lost to fight his damn again. Mind.
What the hell has happened the last 3 years? To his mind,
brain damage.
Nah, it's not that quick.
Well, yeah, if he wants to fight, I think he'll talk himself into another one. But I'm not sure if he still wants to fight. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. Next fight up. It kind of went the way I thought it was going to, and I know nobody wanted it to go that way, but it did. Stephen Thompson, just controlling distance like a master, beating Jorge Masvidal by clear decision. Wes, I know you weren't thrilled with how this one played out.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on Masvidal. I was kind of split on this fight most of the week, but my initial thoughts was what happened. I thought Thompson could keep distance, and Masvidal was a perfect matchup for him. I mean, most people said the same. Either it was going to go that way or Masvidal would be able to get in and work him. And Masvidal had a couple spots in that fight to where he got in and caught Thompson, and it seemed like he staggered him a little bit a couple times. But, yeah, Thompson looked good. He actually engaged a little in that fight, and I think that's probably more because of the guy he was fighting. But he looked pretty good. I thought he didn't look bad in that fight. Masvidal, man, just the guy shrinks, man, and his biggest fights. He always, something just doesn't click, man. And he's had a bunch of big spots, man, and he just doesn't show up. I wish the Till Thompson fight would have got made like they was talking, because I know a lot of people would be betting Till in that fight, and I'm not so sure that he would be beating Stephen Thompson. So I kind of wish that fight would have got made, but I think Thompson put up a pic today of his thumbs, and I know after the fight he was saying he thought he broke his thumb, and both of his thumbs, like almost to his wrist, were purple. So I don't think he's fighting Till, but I'd like to see that fight because I think Stephen Thompson would win that fight.
Yeah, I don't know why they would want to put Till potentially in his hometown to get beat up by a master striker. To me, that doesn't really make much sense. New Sean, I figure you think the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's just an athleticism and skill difference between Masvidal and Thompson. Masvidal can do a lot of things well, but when it comes to that kind of a striking match, Thompson is just too good. He's too quick, just in and out combinations. It's impressive, but I'm still not a fan of Old Wonder Bread, but I definitely would bet him against Darren Till. But yeah, I gotta love the UFC just making fights without even knowing that their fighters are probably going to be out for a while with broken thumbs. They're even, we're going to, fuck Orlando. We're going to move this fight over to Liverpool. Oh, wait a minute. Thompson's fucking hurt. I guess he can't fight. Well, never mind. Fuck me.
It makes you wonder, man.
Yeah.
Like the information that comes out, like these people are like these MMA journal losers, journal dweebs, whatever you want to call them. they're so obsessed with being the first one to the first one to something, they just assume something happened and they report it. And then they get all in a tizzy fit when they get it wrong.
Well, fucking Dana.
Or somebody
Dana was
else
the one that was saying
it
this, like, directly to a reporter. So,
yeah, then someone else comes out and says it's like their news, right?
Yeah,
it's wild. And then it's not true. And then the thing the fight, they misunderstood what they're talking about, the Liverpool thing. I don't think it was ever meant to replace the Orlando thing.
That's straight up what Dana said to that reporter last night.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't believe that's.
I don't know. You fucking
probably misinterpreted.
Don't
if you believe anything
Dana says.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Exactly.
I don't.
There's the real issue. Do you believe anything Dana says? Is Conor going to fight Floyd Mayweather? Is nothing we've talked about. 1 week later, the fight is announced.
we know the running joke about Dana. So
one of those strokes going. Title fights. Gotta say, I went
madness.
0-3 on my thoughts on the title fights. I believe this. The first time that 3 titles have changed hands at a UFC event. I gotta say I haven't done the historical research, but my memory tells me that's the first time. The first one, and probably, it has to be the most stunning of them all.
Yep.
Maybe arguably the biggest upset of the year. I'm gonna say the biggest upset of the year because of the way she won. Rose Namajunas drops Joanna on the feet and then finishes her on the ground with tap to strikes. Yet, if you read the official results, it's a TKO. Someone explain this to me. Let's start with Nushan. How is this not a submission to strikes?
They changed it a while ago.
Yeah.
Big John tweeted about it. Basically, they're like, he said like a submission to strikes is not a submission. Like, I don't know the way he fucking said it, but basically it's bullshit. Just, I know it's bullshit, especially because I bet fucking submission right before that for shits and giggles, and Inside the Distance wasn't even that much cheaper. Like, I'm an absolute moron, but it was just a dart.
Fuck on with this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I'm pretty sure David Branch got, when he tapped to strikes to Rockhold, I'm pretty sure they did call it submission there. But I'm not 100%. Regardless, this was a wild-ass fight. I gave Rose no shot in this fight. We definitely have seen Joanna get dropped a couple times. I don't know if it's been a couple. Well, Gadelia for sure dropped her. I just don't know if it's been a couple times. But I didn't expect Rose. I mean, she's not an amazing striker. She just got outstruck not that long ago by Kowalowicz. So,
who's like pretty much a lesser version of Joanna.
So, I mean, I guess that striking defense is just not there with Joanna. Wow, just absolutely surprising. At a loss for words. That was wild shit.
West.
Yeah, completely shocking. Even though the few people that I saw picking Rose and betting Rose just because she was a big price was saying sub, or she would could get 3 rounds. Nobody said Rose was knocking out JJ. I mean, she ain't never showed any kind of punching power ever. Like Sean said, I mean, she just got pretty much outstruck. Completely shocking, man. I guess we got to say now that, JJ's chin is a little bit suspect. I mean, it's got to be. She usually just, I don't know, man. I'm at a loss for words too. It's pretty shocking.
I wonder what the knockdown rate for women's strawweight actually is. Like, is she actually pretty high of how many times she's been dropped? Because I don't. Sure. When you think of a women's strawweight division, you don't think of many girls getting like fucking dropped. But Joanna's been dropped a couple times now, so
yeah.
Yeesh.
And even when they do, it's like Joanna when she drops girls, it's just attrition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not like a one
shot.
Yeah,
yeah, and she's been like one shot dropped a couple times. I mean. And even before that punch, I mean, Rose landed on her a couple times too.
Yeah, she cracked her once before that. Pretty good.
Yeah, And she's been a slow starter, man. Like, always, gave up that first round usually to chicks. But, yeah, man, if you say you saw Rose knocking her out, especially in the first round, you're a fucking liar.
Was it like TKO or first round? Wasn't it like plus 2,000 something? Like,
it should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
there's no reason for it not to be.
Yeah.
Until the result showed itself.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, Namajunas by TKO is plus 2,500.
I'm happy for Rosa. She's I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy, dude. That whole their whole lead up to that fight was kind of wild, man. And I don't know, a lot of people saying like JJ was bullying her and stuff. I didn't see it that way.
That's the fight game.
Like people keep throwing around the bullying term a lot. I mean, how are you bullying a grown person in a
this is the fight game.
Isn't that what fighting is? I mean,
yeah,
I'm gonna beat you. Isn't that bullying?
You can't bully somebody you're gonna go into a cage and throw fists with. It doesn't exist.
You don't belong then.
But people thought, JJ's in her head. Look, Rose is like praying and saying prayers and shit, and like, the whole time, like, just sometimes none of that shit means anything. It's two people in a cage fighting. We saw here it's 15-pound girl landing one shot and knocking somebody out. Come on. You can't call that shit sometimes. Yeah, you can't call that shit.
It's the awesome part about MMA. Just crazy shit happens.
That's
sometimes.
What made this card crazy is like these three fights, literally all three kind of had that, There was
the best part of MMA for me is changing of the guard, rising to excellence from a fighter who's very good to elite. To me, that's the most exciting part of the sport. And part of the sport I really enjoy is, the coming of age, like when Max took out Jose Aldo or Rockhold ending Chris Weidman's streak, like those kind of wins, and like this one kind of, played that part as well. That's really the, I think, what I take out of the sport the most enjoyable. Yep. Moving up a little bit in weight to dudes, and a couple dozen pounds heavier.
Some bros,
some
boys?
An alpha male, yeah, an alpha male and a former alpha male going together, and this was like a tale of two rounds, just kind of wild how this one ended up playing out. After nearly winning the fight, and if he had a few more seconds, pretty sure he would have won the fight. Goes to the second round, and the other dude takes over, recovers, takes over, and finishes and wins the title. TJ Dillashaw, second round KO. Cody hanging with the boys, but this time without his belt hanging around his waist. Yep. New champion. Wes, thoughts on this one?
Yeah. If it wasn't Bisping in the main, this would have been like the most satisfying thing for me on the entire card. I thought TJ was pretty disrespected all week, man. Like, every single person I seen was picking Cody in that fight. I'll say that I think TJ's chin is his chin issues are kind of overplayed. Even after that fight, we know how hard Cody hits. Any other guy at 135 would have been asleep. They would have been
so clean.
They would have been.
They would have been asleep. TJ showed me
was.
Yeah, but I'm talking out.
He was done.
Dude, that would have put out. I'm talking that would have put out. No, he got back up. He was wobbly, but he got back up.
Yeah, but there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, 5. Some people say 10. I say 5. 5 more seconds. I don't see how he finishes the round.
But he still was with that chin, though. He was able to come back in the second, and he was fine.
Yeah, but that's a different thing. Like, I mean, there's like recovery. See, I look at it as like two different. There's like recovery, and then there's like the initial shot.
It's like the Frank Yeager thing.
Those are two different elements, I think.
Yeah, but that's almost as good as having just a steel chin where nothing hurts you. I mean, like, most guys don't have a straight steel chin like a Lineker or something to where it just doesn't matter. That was great recovery.
Frank Yeager, right? Like Frankie Edgar, not a great chin, but an amazing recovery. I mean,
and that'll win you fights. That'll win you titles, like it did TJ. I mean, any other 135er, I think that lays them slick out, and the fight's over. I mean, we've seen Cody
one shot. KO.
Yeah, one shot, it's done. It wouldn't have mattered if there was 5, 3, or 10 more seconds left in the round. They'd all been done. TJ came out of that, and then I think Cody, he got a little cocky, man. His striking is legit. It's right there with Cody's. I thought people was underplaying TJ's speed. How he countered off that shit Cody threw and caught that kick and shit. That was beautiful, man. That they were a little wild, but that shit all had technique in it. It was, I was really impressed by TJ in that fight. I didn't write him off as much as most people, but in the back of my mind, I thought Garbrandt would win that fight. I was betting a big number. I mean, TJ got up almost 2-1. I thought that was crazy. But yeah, man, that's probably my fave moment of the fight, or of the entire card, man. All the shit Cody talked, releasing that tape during, fight week and shit. That's just like, I saw a lot of people say that, like, report and shit like that, and like they've never seen like guys releasing like gym footage of shit like that, of you knocking each other out and getting into it and shit like that. That's just like some low slimy shit to do. And it just kind of felt that way, leading up to the fight, and he releases his tape.
Why does he have tape? Like, where'd they get? What is this, security footage? I mean,
most film practices to look at technique and shit like that. They just don't release it to people. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of not something that most gyms do, and because you're teammates, you don't release that kind of shit. I know they had a splitting up, but people leave gyms all the time. You never see that kind of shit get released. I just thought that was kind of low down. He didn't have to go there, and he talked a lot of personal shit, man. I mean, he literally sat up there and said TJ was on steroids and shit, and he showed the gym, kind of out at his gym, saying TJ showed them all how to do steroids. That's how dumb that fucking guy is.
It is Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, but all that, good. He gets what he deserves. But they'll fight again. I think him and TJ fight again. But I mean, there's a legit like super fight to be made, and TJ DJ would be one of the best fights in the sport, man. I hope they get that done, because that would just be incredible. I kind of lean TJ in that fight just by size difference, but it'd be awesome to see.
New Sean, I'm going to ask you this. I want an honest opinion. Is there a fighter that we all enjoy losing more than Cody Garbrandt?
Him and Bisping, but
the guy in the main event.
Yeah, him and Bisping. But the Bisping thing is only because of his. It's not really his antics to me. It's more his title reign. I just think Cody Garbrandt's a piece of shit, and I hate him. So that one is sweet. That knockout was unbelievable. It's a close fight. Like if they have a rematch, I think Garbrandt should be a little bit of a favorite. That's fair. If anybody gets big plus odds, you should probably take it, because I think it's a close fight regardless. We definitely haven't seen Garbrandt get hit hard. I mean, Dillashaw is not this big puncher, big kicker. He doesn't really drop people, and he was able to drop Garbrandt. That's something interesting to go on for future fights. When Garbrandt fought Cruz, I bet Cruz, obviously, and also bet Cruz inside the distance, because I've heard the stories about Garbrandt and concussions. So I will be looking to fade that chin against some decent sized hitters in Garbrandt's future.
And I will say that there's probably not a fight I'd like to see more in that division than Cody Garbrandt and John Lineker.
Yes.
I know that was scheduled one other time, but please make that happen.
Please. I
would very much enjoy that. And it could headline just about any card I will watch.
Give me Lineker money.
Yep.
That would certainly be the case. Definitely. I don't even know what the number would be, but that would definitely be the underdog. Main event time. Interesting bout. was way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. George St. Pierre returning to MMA, 4-year absence, wins the middleweight championship.
Wow.
On one of the most memorable still or video images I can remember of his neck wrapped up in a rear naked choke and Michael Bisping's expressions just
unconscious.
Yep. Wes, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I got it wrong. What can I say, man? Who knew that a guy coming off, a 4.5 year layoff, giving up size, which once they got in the cage, I think Bisping was a little bigger, but you could tell George was, even coming back from 4 years, was the far more like superior looking athlete. You know what I'm saying? By far. Bisping, like, I don't know, leading up, he looked in good shape, but like fight night, he looked a little soft. He's never been like a chiseled guy or anything, but he looked a little soft to me fight night. And man, yeah, I thought Bisping would be able to stuff takedowns a little bit better and be able to get up off of his back a little better. George just kept landing those takedowns, and I mean, the thing that stood out to me most is, when is the last time you saw like George kind of and go for shit, like literally put a pace on somebody, go for shit, not just like spam jab, spam takedown. I mean, and then like, yeah, drop fucking Bisping, dude. And then even when he went to the ground, like, I think even George would have controlled there for a while and kind of rolled out around and went to another one. Man, he jumped around and snatched that choke. I mean, he looked great. I mean, I was shocked, shocked but not shocked. I don't know. It's hard to explain, man. Just another one of them wow fights that made the card what it is. I just don't know what you do now, man. You got a 185 belt, a guy that's supposed to be the true champ. You got an interim belt who we all think is the real champ. I just don't know what you do. Do you take George and get him killed by Whitaker? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, would George even take that fight? I think he's smart enough to like say, nah, I'm not fighting that guy, but
he just got the title as a challenge. Now he'll do something else.
Yeah, I can't see George fighting Whitaker. But yeah, man, crazy good performance. And yeah, if it was somebody other than Bisping, I think you could start saying, I mean, I've always thought George is one of the greatest ever. People's now is going crazy. It's the heat of the moment, and George is the best fighter ever. Like literally, most people I saw on Twitter Saturday night were like, well, that does it. George St. Pierre is the greatest of all time. And I'm like, man, slow down. He beat Michael Bisping, dude. Like, he's a far superior fighter than Michael Bisping, even off of a 4-year layoff. We saw that, but he's one of the greats, man. He's right there. He's top 5, 6. You can argue him in there, but just slow down on the greatest of all time talk off of beating Bisping. But impressive nonetheless, man.
A lot to take away from that. I mean, the reality. I'll ask you, Nushan. I don't know if you saw it, but did you see the line, how the fight was lined live after round 2?
I did not. Did you?
Wes, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Wes.
Wasn't Bisping like 2-1 favorite, 2.5-1 favorite?
That's correct. Bisping was a 2.5-1 favorite after
I'm not really
round
surprised.
2. Are you?
I'm not, because I mean, George did not look good in that second round.
He started
looked like he
slowing.
was gassing.
Yeah.
He wasn't throwing. And, I mean, from what we know, Bisping is a cardio machine. That's kind of where he takes over and starts throwing and piling up punches. But, yeah, so, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I was kind of looking maybe to bet Bisping, but when it was that big, I kind of let it pass. But yeah, that was a pretty wild finish.
I mean, he landed a big punch that floored Bisping, and then threw on ground and pound, landed like 17 elbows, and then submitted him.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't land that uppercut, I mean, Bisping probably wins the fight. I mean, Bisping was winning the fight from the bottom. You know, that early part with a takedown, he cut GSP open. I mean, he was landing elbows.
It might have been stopped by the doctors in like the third or fourth round or something. If that continues with those cuts,
he had 2 cuts, right?
Yep.
I mean, at least to me. I don't think St. Pierre looked all that great. I mean, I know some folks thought he did, but I think he's obviously beefy for that weight. His conditioning was nowhere near where it was. I mean, certainly 4-year layoff will certainly play a part. He was fighting a 39-year-old dude who's never really been that great to begin with. I'm kind of speaking some real truth here. Yep. He luckboxed Luke Rockhold, who didn't take him seriously because he completely destroyed him the first time he fought, which is probably in my mind, outside of Sarah beating GSP, the biggest upset I've ever seen in high-level MMA, title fight MMA, or at least UFC's purposes. And then he, snuck his way around the fight Dan Henderson, a guy that a 40-something-year-old man he should have beat, was dropped twice in that bout.
And lost. He lost.
Well, no, he won.
Draw at worst. That was a draw at worst.
And then, he faces a guy who's technically superior in like 7 of like the 10 attributes you look at in MMA, maybe 8. When you look to break down a fight. So I don't think it was really a great performance from St. Pierre. I mean, sure. I mean, it's tremendous to move up in weight against the guy you're smaller than against and win, but he didn't really run over him. He had a lot of trouble in the bout. He landed a key shot against a guy who's had some chin issues, who's almost 40 years old, then
only one eye.
Then won the fight. Yeah, and only has really one eye. So
yeah, honestly, they both look like shit.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that was a sloppy fucking fight. They both started gassing hard.
That's why it was entertaining.
Yeah, Bisping shockingly started gassing fucking hard. He looked every bit of 40 in that fight. So I said he looked soft fight night to me. Like, he looked fucking soft.
I think people were more pumped up about GSP because of the way he finished. If GSP would have wrestled Bisping for 5 rounds, it would have been like, oh, okay.
I'd have called it a terrible fight.
Yeah, but because he finished him, which, when's the last time GSP's finished somebody, especially like that, like actually fucking
it's been
dropping
like 10
somebody.
Years or something.
Yeah.
I think it's been like 10 years.
I think that's why people were kind of pumped up. I mean, I'm a GSP fan. I marked out like a bitch right at the start of that fight, even though I was protesting it on last week's episode. But I mean, I take it for what it is. He fought Michael Bisping, who I and you guys do not think much of, and he got kind of fucked up a bunch in that fight. So. I think he better not fight Whitaker or he will die.
Do y'all think he even fights again?
Yeah, I think he fights McGregor. In like the summer.
You're talking about St. Pierre? You're talking about
St. Pierre.
I think that's the only fight he comes back for. Is a huge money payday against McGregor. I think he might be done again. Honestly, I really think so.
Yeah.
Just with his whole thinking about concussion and shit, and that's why he said he walked away before and shit mainly. He got beat up pretty bad. I mean, like they said, he was in the ambulance.
He went to the hospital. He didn't even do the post-fight.
Yeah. He got beat up, man, again. And that's something he talked about when he quit, that he started taking beatings, and even when he won, and it happened again. He took a fucking beating, man. I just don't think he wants these young kids like Whitaker and all them, man. I think that's a bad fucking. No. And they're gonna be bigger than Bisping was.
Oh,
they're
literally a fuck ton harder.
Yep, all of them. Yeah. Could you imagine him fucking running around with fucking Yoel? Like, could you imagine the bad things Yoel would do?
He doesn't want that fight.
Yeah,
that fight's never happening.
No. I don't think any of those fights are happening. Honestly, I think it's McGregor.
There's only 3 options. I see 3 options. 1, And the most likely of them is probably the McGregor fight that you're talking about. There's a scenario I could see where McGregor fights somebody else first, and then fights St. Pierre. I don't know.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I could see McGregor fighting Ferguson or Nate Diaz at some point. I don't know when that fight is. If it's March, if it's I don't know. I'm not sure what the schedule is.
They're trying to get him in December, is what everybody wants, but
they're trying to run out of time. Yeah. They're running out of time to do that.
They want to squeeze one more. They want to squeeze one more fucking bank
for the end of the year. Put on the
one more. Yeah, one more loan payment out of fucking McGregor is what they want.
And I get that. I just don't think he's going to agree to it this fast. It's too soon.
If they go crazy and give him fucking part promoter, I don't think he can say no because he's going to fucking be getting paid. That would be insane if they break down and do something like that after. I can remember all the years of them literally not doing shit with Fedor when Fedor was at his height just because they wanted part promotion. But it's a new day now when you got loans out for billions of dollars.
Cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Because if McGregor doesn't defend the belt his next fight, whenever that is, you have to strip him of the belt. I mean, what's the point? It's getting stupid in my eyes. So that's option one. Option two would be to do the Woodley fight, so that you could market it as St. Pierre trying to get the second belt, like McGregor did, and that could be very important for him. I don't know though, because I think again that becomes very it's like a very difficult matchup. Tyron Woodley's never been taken down in a UFC fight. I think he's never been taken down in his MMA career.
And George makes 70.
Well, if they do it in a while, like I said, if they George isn't going to fight if he does fight until like August.
Yeah, it'll be a while. Still, do you think his old ass body could make down to 70 healthy?
Oh, yeah. I don't think he was that big, and he even said that in his post-fight interview. Like he's welterweights are big now. I think he can get down to welterweight, especially in that kind of amount of time where you can kind of lean out.
Then option three is the fight that they probably should have done like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, the Anderson Silva fight. I mean, is that really necessary for Anderson to fight again? I mean, there is obviously still name recognition and something. I mean, there is an allure to it, but I don't know.
Talk about Pacquiao Mayweather too. Fuck.
Yeah,
kinda, I think that lost, man. That lost all its luster long ago.
If I'm the UFC personally, I probably wouldn't do St. Pierre and McGregor because I'd want to keep them separate so I can make money twice. But I don't know how much money they feel they can make off both of them together, and
I just don't know how many times either of them are going to fight again. I really think George has maybe one fight left, and I'm not convinced McGregor has more than one or two left.
Yep, I agree completely on both of them. I don't think McGregor's fighting too much longer. He's going to go into some kind of promotional business. That's where McGregor's going to start making his money.
Well, yeah,
or try to.
Look at how much money he made in that Mayweather fight. Why the fuck would you keep fighting when you have that much money?
How much? But what kind of promotion business can he really do if he's not fighting himself?
He's a fucking star in Europe, dude. Like he could go over and make all kinds of money.
Well, like take over Cage Warriors.
Just anything, just boxing promoter, just all kinds of shit. I mean, he could put his name on,
put his face. He
could put his
cell. I mean, people fucking pay to have his interview.
Yeah, I mean, just like George in Canada. I mean, at George's height in Canada, his face was on fucking everything. I mean, George was probably making more outside the cage than he was inside the cage when he was at his height. I just don't think McGregor's. That dude's smart. He's an idiot, but he's smart. He knows what the fight game is, and he knows every blow he takes that's going to add up in the end.
I'm with you. That's true. But there's definitely some interesting things going on in the sport. I can tell you that there is a lot of buzz for this card post event, and rightfully so. Got a lot of messages, a lot of people just kind of asking me, folks that don't always talk about fights but sometimes do. There was kind of like a lull in the casualness factor, but people are definitely coming out of the woodwork and kind of excited about some of the events. Now they're like, ooh, I forgot about MMA. I kind of want to talk about it again, and looking ahead to some fights and some guys. So it's a good time again. I like when the buzz is real. So there's a lot of events kind of coming out towards the end of the year, and there's a lot of good fights coming. I certainly hope a certain Russian shows up to work at the end, the last couple of days of the year. That will certainly be my Christmas. That'll be my Christmas gift, but I can be hopeful. I know he doesn't celebrate Christmas, but yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We got a fight card here in Norfolk, Virginia, of all places. I don't know if you guys remember the last event that was in Norfolk, but
Norfolk.
One of the two fighters on that card was actually in that main event, and it was one of the better main events you'll ever see. Do you guys know what fight that was?
Shit.
Is
that a Mark
Tim
Ward
Kennedy?
headlined?
What's up?
Was it Mark Ward headlining that fight?
No, I said one of the fighters in this weekend's main event.
Oh, okay, I get you.
Main evented that last fight
really?
card in Norfolk. Yeah.
I did not.
Oh, that was. No.
Was it Pettis or was it Poirier?
Dustin Poirier. He main evented against the Korean Zombie.
Oh, fuck that fight. That was a wild ass fight.
It certainly was. That was wild. I mean, Dustin had him hurt, and then he got submitted by that. Well, I forgot what kind of submission it was, but it was like wild.
That was a title. That was for a title shot too, wasn't it? Didn't Korean Zombie fight for a title right after he beat Poirier?
I think Korean Zombie got hurt again, and then
no, he did. Poirier fought. He fought Aldo right after he fought Poirier. That was a title eliminator.
And then he got hurt. Then he got hurt in that fight.
Yeah,
he hurt his shoulder, and then he went on
since.
And now he's torn his ACL and MCL, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that guy's got bad. Yeah, it's bad.
He's giving Khabib a run for his money.
Just giving Dominic Cruz a run for his money.
Touche.
Yeah, but let's start with that fight card at something called the Ted Constant Convocation Center. I don't know what that is, but because I remember it used to be called the Scope, which I thought was one of the coolest arena names in the world. But I don't know, this Ted Constant Convocation Center doesn't sound very.
It's on the campus of Old Dominion University.
Oh, it's a Jesus Dome.
Yeah, baby. Bible Belt. Whoosh. Anyway, Darren Stewart, the Englishman, middleweight, opened it up against Contender Series winner Carl Roberson. I'll start with you, Wes. Any thoughts on this bout?
Yeah, I haven't looked at this one too close. The Roberson's performance on that that Tuesday night Contender against Spine, man, was just that crazy knockout that he had on there.
Such a weird finish.
Yeah, I was on Spine in that fight. Spine's not a bad fighter. He was coming off a pretty decent run coming into that fight, man. I just don't know how much you can take away from that fight. And his competition up until that point is kind of iffy. But man, Darren Stewart, when you get beat by Francis Mar, you're not, especially over 3 rounds, you're just not doing something right. And then, he's from Cage Warriors, probably fighting some low level dude. So you got to favor Roberson in this. I don't know if you can lay that kind of line on him. I think he opened a little bit lower, so probably not too bad a parlay material, but I'll probably stay away from it. And Roberson would be the pick, though.
New Sean, thoughts on the newcomer?
Yeah, I agree with Wes. hard to know what to take away from that fight on the Contender Series. He just threw a short elbow and dropped Spawn. It was a weird finish. Seems like he definitely has the athleticism advantage, which will probably make him win. But I'll probably pick Stewart, just given he's fought in the UFC twice, and looking for some dog money or dog points in old Tote-Master.
Getting to the end.
Yep.
Yeah, I got Darren Stewart a D and Carl Roberson a D+. Roberson comes from a kickboxing background, fought in Glory. Certainly a very skilled striker, and I think is just more apt size-wise compared to Darren Stewart for the UFC. And he certainly is a more technical striker. Stewart hasn't shown a ground game, which maybe Roberson could be vulnerable to. So stand-up competition, I'll take Carl Roberson to get the job done. I think he's a pretty good athlete. So is Stewart, not a bad athlete at all. But I think just in terms of striking talent, Carl Roberson's the guy, gets the job done. It's not a slam dunk by any standard, but definitely an advantage I see for Mr. Carl Roberson in his debut. Next fight up on the card, we got one of the scrubs of the division, Jake Collier.
The delay in that was awesome because he's like, who? Oh, fuck.
Against the dude who was at heavyweight and outweighed by 40 pounds and knocked out Anthony Hamilton. Marcel, give me Fortuna. I came Fortuna, okay?
Oh, shit.
Wes, are you Fortuna? I should call him Bill Parcells. His name's Tuna. Big Tuna, baby.
Yeah, Tuna probably should win this fight. But man, I don't know if it's how good is this guy, man. I don't know. Collier plus 200. I don't see how you can touch this fight, man. I'll probably take Collier and Tote-Master because he's 2-1. I think both these guys kind of suck.
All right, Nushan, do you think Big Tuna sucks?
Well, Bumblebee Tuna did a little bit better than we thought against Jordan Johnson last fight. I know
That's true.
I think we were all on Jordan Johnson, expecting him to do work there. But it's hard to know how much stock you got to put in a guy on a loss if he just does better than you think. Maybe the guy that you thought was going to do well is not as good. It's hard to know. Jake Collier has alternated wins and losses since he started in the UFC, and seeing as he lost last time to Devin Clark, he's going to win this fight, and I will take him in Tote-Master, but not a chance in hell I would put money on him.
Nah.
Yeah, I got Marcel Fortuna D+ and Jake Collier D-. He is
I thought he was going
to go. He is terrible. Borderline. He's fringing on a failing grade. He is terrible. I'll just leave it at that. Fortuna, as Nushan said, represented himself pretty well in the fight against Jordan Johnson. Had some moments in a matchup against a guy I think is rising in that weight class. I don't really see how Collier really does much in this bout. He's kind of long, gangly, but weak to the body. Doesn't have a ton of power. He'll throw, but that's about it. Striking defense is bad. Poor ground game. This fight Fortuna should win. End of story. Next bout up to the televised. I believe it's not even the televised yet. Fight Pass main event, which I guess since Eric Winter's no longer there, they don't even publicize these now, so they're just all Fight Pass fights, which is fine by me. We got Court McGee. It seems like he's fighting for the 37th time in the UFC, going up against a guy that I think pretty highly of, Sean Strickland. Wes, thought on this one?
Yeah, I really like Sean Strickland in this fight. I just think we're seeing the end of Court, man. The miles are starting to catch up, and I think Strickland is a pretty talented fighter, man. His stand up game is evolved pretty good. He's decent on the ground. His last fight out, man, just going 3 with Usman was pretty damn impressive. Just even in a loss, he stayed in that fight fairly well. Has got some good wins. I watched a little of the Breeze fight and the Garcia fight. Thought those were pretty decent performances for him. I just really think Court is on the way out here, and he's facing a much younger, up and coming guy, hungry guy here. I think Court's in for a bad night here. I think it was minus 210 or so on the open. I got Strickland at, and I parlayed him with somebody else later on the card.
New Sean.
This is Court McGee's lucky 13th fight in the UFC.
That's it?
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be that lucky for him. Yeah, it seems like he's been fighting. I think he hasn't fought. Well, he didn't fight in 2014. He only fought once in 2015. Like, he fought a bunch early on, but then he's been decimated by stuff.
He's just been around for a while.
Yeah. I agree with Wes. I think he's absolutely shot. He looked bad against Ben Saunders. He looked bad against Dominic Steele. He won that fight, but I don't think everybody agrees on that. Strickland's a good striker. I think he's going to put it on Court McGee. He might even finish Court McGee. McGee's so done.
He's done?
Yeah.
I just want to look up the striking stats here. Just out of curiosity.
Like his striking defense or what?
Not sure. It doesn't really tell much. I'm not sure I can really go with that. Okay. I got Strickland C, Court McGee C minus. I mean, really, McGee's just a guy who's got, pretty high volume, near historically about 5 significant strikes a minute. Certainly more than Sean Strickland, but those stats are kind of swayed. He's certainly slowed down a bit in his more recent fights. Doesn't have any power for the weight class at all. You're never going to see him finish opponents. Strickland does a pretty good job avoiding strikes. Moves way better than Court does, and he's probably about 10 years younger. Huge advantage. A little bit longer too. I like Sean Strickland. I think he wins this fight. Going away. Next bout up, we got. That's a good question. Who is up next?
Angela.
Oh yeah, that's right. Angela Hill. One of my faves, Nina Ansaroff, I think. Oh, Wes. I know you don't like it as much as I do, but let's hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right here. I think Angela Hill wins this fight. She's definitely way more technical than Ansaroff here, and I think we've seen about the best of her. She's not anything. She's not improving at all. I think Angela Hill's still improving. Still pretty young, 29 years old. She got. I was impressed in that Andrade fight. I thought she did fairly well for herself to what we've seen Andrade now and what she did to Claudia last time out. I thought Hill kind of showed pretty well for herself in that fight. Yoder, I don't know how much you can take from that win, but it was a pretty easy win, and I think that's about what this fight is going to look like. So, yeah, Hill wins this fight. The line's fairly good. I mean, if you like Hill in this fight, I don't like laying 2-1 on chicks, but as I say that, I'm going to be doing that later on in the card. So, Hill for me. I'm going to try to keep my juice laying on women's fights to 1 on this card.
Smart man.
New Sean.
Ansaroff seems like a Band-Aid. She's pulled out of a bunch of fights. She didn't fight in 2015. She's only fought once in 2016, once in 2017. She just seen. Who knows if she's healthy coming into this fight? Angela Hill is definitely the better athlete, more skilled striker. I think she's gonna be able to take it to Ansaroff. I'm thinking about betting the over, which is par for the course, but I have not paid it yet. It is like 2.5 at 225. Yeah, because I think both of them are fairly tough. They'll stick in there.
I got Ansaroff C-, Angela Hill a B-. The Band-Aid thing is pretty real. Ansaroff always seems hurt or beat up. She wears like a Patrick Ewing size knee pad when she fights. It's pathetic. You know what I'm talking about. What?
She's out there like Ric Flair with him down by her ankle and shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty sad. She certainly of the two in the relationship, she certainly didn't get the best genes, for that type of thing.
Christ. Jay's on a road tonight.
Yeah. Angela Hill, way more athletic. Although Ansaroff was a former collegiate soccer player, Hill's way faster. Maybe not as good at kicks, but her punching skill set is way better. I don't see this fight going to the ground. I think Hill's pretty good defensively. And her movement's going to be the key here. She's going to move around, and Ansaroff's going to have his trouble keeping up with her. Speed kills, and that's the overkill. Angela Hill wins. Could be a decision. I'm going to say it's probably a decision, not by a stoppage. May not be like Ansaroff may win a round, or it might be closed for one round, but Hill's just more talented. End of story. Next fight up, and I'm looking forward to it. The return of Super Sage Northcutt.
Hey.
Returning again, something called Mikel Quinones. Northcutt again, fighted somebody from the beer league. West, can Northcutt really lose this fight, or is this something he's going to win?
Sage is going to win this fight.
Hey!
There it is.
I think he's
a real winning streak.
I mean, he's seriously though. He's being pretty disrespected line wise in this fight. Like all the money's been bet on Quinones, and I guess I can understand it, but come on, man. I mean, this kid's just got to be absolute garbage to lose to this dude. I just don't think he's that bad. I really don't. I think he's made all the right moves in training and stuff. He's gotten away from his dad. He's training at real camps, hanging out with real fighters. Woodley's kind of taking him under his wing a little bit too. He's gone and trained with Woodley. I think those are all great things, man. I think the kid's doing all the right things. He should absolutely win this fight. If he loses this fight, he really should start thinking about fucking some male modeling or something. Like,
he already is.
Because he should go full time. Because fighting is not his thing if he can't beat this guy. And I really think that Sage smashes this guy. And minus 170, it's crazy to me. I'm hoping it keeps coming down some more because people hate Sage, and they pretty much already. I think they've dropped Quinones down. I think he was like plus 220 or something, wasn't he? I know he was higher, but the money's all been coming in on him. I think it's kind of crazy. Sage is going to smash this guy. Book it.
I think my speakers gave out here. Sorry about that. Nushan, you're up next.
Quinones opened plus 175, and then he's been getting bet a bunch since then. Yeah, Quinones isn't good, but I'm not too sure about Northcutt either. I mean, we've kind of seen what he's done in fights when the goings gets tough. So I mean, if he wins, he's gonna have to steamroll this guy, because fights don't seem to do well if it goes past much of a time period. I'm staying away. I'll pick Sage, but I wouldn't bet him.
Yeah, it's hard to bet him, right? Because where's his mind at?
You saw the fucking pic of that dude's sausage hanging in those fucking sweatpants, dude. Come on.
That sausage got beat by Mickey Gall and Barbarina.
Choked his own neck out.
Yeah, that Mickey Gall loss looks fucking.
He doesn't
really
have
bad.
He doesn't have much blood going to his head. I think. And
Wes,
that'll catch you for
Wes,
rear naked
that's not
chokes.
a sausage, Wes. That's his umbilical cord. Okay. I got Northcutt a D+, Quinones a D-. I mean, Quinones was fighting at featherweight. He's not really a lightweight. And Northcutt's going back down from welterweight back to lightweight. It's going to be huge for this weight class. Obviously, he's got a huge athleticism advantage over just about anybody he faces. They want him. They're desperate for this dude to win and to build him. They're going to keep giving him like the true trash just cans on the roster.
Cupcakes.
He should stay, bro.
They're so desperate for this dude to be a star. They are desperate. They think they have all the answers with this dude, and he's just got to prove he can beat cans before he can move up to half a can. And that's what he's going to do. I think Northcutt probably gets the win too. But until he proves that he can actually, sustain a couple wins, I'll stay away. Anyway, moving on up. Interesting enough fight here, I think. Someone I regard fairly highly is in this one. Brazilian Viviane Pereira taking on American Tatiana Suarez. I know Wes is high on one of these two fighters, but are you betting it?
Yeah, I think this Suarez chick is the real. I think she could be really, really good. The layoff worries me a little bit in this fight, but man, she's going to be massive to this Brazilian girl. And I love her wrestling, man. I love how she's like, if this was like men's fighting, and I don't want to sound like an asshole, but it's like, it's hard to trust chicks sometimes and fights with your money. She fights really smart, man. She takes girls down and she controls and ground and pounds. I like that kind of scenario to have my money on. And I think that's exactly what she does here. She's going to take this girl down and ground and pound. I'm pretty high on her. I know she's still kind of young and only had a few fights. That's the only worrying thing, that and a little bit of layoff, but I'm all in here. I got her at a little bit lower than minus 300, though. That the line's kind of getting out there. It's hard to lay minus 300 on most chicks, so that line is getting a little bit out there. But I got it when it was minus 250, I believe, or minus 245. But I got her parlayed with Sean Strickland at some plus money, and those are two of my most confident picks on the entire card.
Sean, you looking at this fight, I'm going to ask you a question. You probably already know what that question is going to be. Is the answer yes or no?
I did not bet the over in this fight.
I'm glad that you knew where I was going with this. I'm glad we know each other well enough to this point.
Could definitely tap out Pereira here. The size difference is going to be just huge. She's listed as 5 foot. She's probably like 4'11", maybe. She might be a certified little person. I don't know. And Suarez has that wrestling that's going to just stifle Pereira. I'm not going to bet it. It is a little high for me, just because Suarez has only 4 fights in her pro career, but she has the tools to absolutely just dominate Pereira here. But minus 300 is a bit high.
Fair enough. I got Pereira a C, Suarez a C+. I think Pereira is a pretty solid fighter. She's not great, but she's shown a decent enough all-around skill set. Fairly stout from the grappling perspective, but She's facing a fighter who potentially could be very good in this weight class. And from a physical standpoint, she's probably as big as anybody in this division. Combine that with a great offensive wrestling game, could be very good. My concern for her is just injuries and staying healthy, because if she's healthy, I think her grade balloons well into the higher B range and into the top 7 or 8 fighter in this weight class. I do think she's, has that kind of talent. But again, staying off injuries, keeping in the cage, not, and coming into her fights 100% is going to be the key, because if she wins this fight going away. But can't confirm that she is, and that could be the struggles of her career. So just keep that in mind. Interesting, certainly a very interesting bantamweight clash that closed out the preliminary card. Johnny Dodson taking on Marlon Moraes in an important bantamweight bout. Absolutely. Wes, start us off here.
Yeah, this is a really good fight. It's a really close fight too, as the odds are saying right now. I just think this is kind of coming down to is I'm not sure. I think Dotson might have went over that hill. I think Dotson might be starting to go on the other side of the hill of his career. He just hasn't. I don't know. He hasn't really, looked the same. I mean, he won that Wineland fight, but I mean, it was a fairly close fight. Eddie's not a bad fight or anything. He didn't do much against Lineker. It is Johnny fucking Lineker, so can't really blame him there. But I don't know. It seems like he might be losing a tiny bit of a step, and I think his knockout power that he kind of showed a little bit earlier in his career is just a little bit overrated at this point. And I think Moraes is just a younger guy that's still improving. He's training at the right camps with the right guys. He trains with Frankie and Eddie Alvarez and those guys a little bit. So, man, in a really close fight, I'm going to go with the guy that I think that's going to have a pretty substantial size advantage in this fight. I don't think the speed advantage for Dotson's going to be that huge here. Moraes is really, really fast, has really fast hands, and I just think he's on the come up here. So I'm going to pick Moraes here, and if he hits plus money again, I'll probably sprinkle on him, and then I have the over and a parlay at I believe it was minus 225. I really see this fight going to a decision. I think either way, it's going to be a decision for one or the other. And the pick right now is going to be Moraes by decision.
New Sean.
I agree with Wes pretty much on all fronts. I thought Moraes won his last fight, and that's coming from a guy who bet on Sun Sao. I know it was a close fight, but Sun Sao is a pretty damn good fighter. And if he's that close, then I think he's pretty good. Because I know a lot of people were going into that fight saying he's fought nobodies in World Series, but he showed up. And yeah, Dodson's just kind of plateaued, if not gone down a bit. That Wineland fight, he should have done a lot more in it. Against Lineker, he was very, very tentative. That was a fairly close fight, but I like Moraes. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw strikes. Those leg kicks are pretty brutal. I'm going to bet Moraes, and I'm going to bet the over like Wes.
I got both these guys an A-. I think it's a very interesting bout. One that's likely going to go to the scorecards. I would say that's probably the best bet for this fight. I kind of lean the other way with Dodson. I think his physical punching power could be a factor here. He also really rarely takes any damage. I mean, we saw him fight Lineker and, kind of danced around for the most part. But it seems like it's going to come down to, what the judges prefer. And that just seems like a dangerous play. Like I said, I think Dodson's power advantage could certainly lend him some thoughts on scorecards, but how many times have we seen fairly close decisions, and you never know which way it's going to go. It's not a fight I prefer to bet because I don't see a decisive victory on either side. Moving up to the main card, pretty decent main card here, and at least it starts off with a bang with two known performers. We got a lightweight matchup: Clay Guida, Joe Lozon. Guys have been around forever and make fun happen. Wes, how do you see this one playing out?
Make fun happen. These are man. You talking about two vets? Man, these dudes been around for ages. Joey Lozon, man, it's one of my all-time faves, dude. But I think I just think the ring time's catching up with him, man. He's 33 and he's probably 70 in fight years. This dude's just been through so many wars, man. I like Clay in this fight. I think Clay's pressure could play a huge factor in this fight. I think as long as he stays in Lozon's grill, I think Lozon will fade in this fight with that pressure on him, and I think that lets Guida grab a couple rounds in this fight, and I think Guida takes a decision. So I'll be betting Clay Guida.
Nushan, you like Clay Guida as well?
I do. This is Clay Guida's, if we count his one fight in WEC, this is his 26th Zuffa fight. Isn't that crazy to think about?
Oh.
He's been in there a long time, but I think Lozon is more shot-born than he is. If Guida survives the first minute or two, I think he's gonna have a somewhat fairly easy rest of the fight. Lozon's been gassing like crazy in his last bunch of fights. Guida's got to keep his arms intact and not get dropped, and he should be easy. He should be in a good stance to grind this out for a 3-round decision. I'm going to bet him.
And I got Guida a C+, Joe Lozon a C. Lozon certainly has a size advantage here, and he can be tricky at different points. His grappling is certainly certainly creates some issues for a lot of fighters. Striking, not really much of an issue. I expect Clay to kind of move around a lot on the feet, avoid Lozon's punches. Even if he gets hit, I don't think he'll be dropped at all. He's ultimately going to go for the takedown, so it's going to be a matter of, can Lozon end up getting a submission, or is Guida going to be able to take him to the ground and kind of control him? I think Lozon has a potential for a submission in the first round. Avoids that, then it's just Guida's fight to lose, and he could run away with it. And that's where I lean. I think Clay's just going to watch out for a guillotine in the first. Otherwise, it's his fight. And I think that's worth a bet. So Clay Guida for me, and with everybody on the same side in this closely lined fight, Clay Guida is our 5dimes.eu consensus bet of the week as we look to get back on the positive trend here. Nushan, can you confirm the price, please? Drum roll.
Clay Guida, money line, -120.
-120 it is. So Clay Guida, -120 is our consensus bet of the week, brought to you by 5dimes. Moving on up the main card, another important bantamweight bout. Interesting. Rafael Assunção taking on the wrestler, Matthew Lopez. Wes, thoughts here?
Yeah, I really like Assunção in this fight. I know it's another chalky pick on this card.
Chalky fight picks.
Bless him, Jay. Bless him.
Lay that juice.
Gotta bless that juice before you play.
Lay it back. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think this is way too much for Matthew Lopez coming off of Mitch Gagnon and fucking Johnny Aguardo. This is just a different level here. I've seen people, saying this is, a step up for the prospect and stuff. Like Matthew Lopez is like over 30 years old. Like he's not some young prospect.
Not a spring chicken, no.
Yeah, he's not like some 24, 25-year-old guy that's still learning the game, and he's 30 years old now. I just think this is too much here, man. Assunção is one of the best fighters in the division. Yeah, the opener at -210 was just a little crazy to me, and I parlayed that with the Dotson over, and that was at plus money. So yeah, I really like Assunção in this fight. I just can't see how Lopez gets a couple rounds off of Assunção. I mean, that guy's lost one fight in like 6.5 years, and it was the rematch to TJ. I mean, he's fought some of the who's who in the division. I can't see Matthew Lopez beating Rafael Assunção here.
Yeah, I think it would probably be a surprise too. New Sean?
I don't blame anybody for betting Assunção at that opener of -210 or whatever it was. At this point, at -335, it's got to be a pass for me. Assunção is in some close fights. Granted, those guys that he's fighting usually are pretty damn good. I mean, he had close fights with Moraes, Sterling, the first Dillashaw fight. So yeah, I can't lay that kind of juice when he doesn't have. He's a good fighter, but he doesn't have that crazy knockout power. He hasn't subbed anybody in about 4.5 years, so that's tough for me. I do expect him to win. I think this is just way too big of a step up for Lopez, but I'm not laying -335.
Yeah, that's a little steep now.
I got Assunção an A-, Lopez a C+. But I agree with New Sean. I think it's there's always concerns with Assunção as a fighter that at dog money you kind of like to play. He's one of those where he always ends up in close fights or relatively close fights. They always go to a decision, so you always have to rely on the judges to get it right. And at some point, you have to feel like a poor decision is going to go against Assunção, and you just don't know when it's going to be. So, and the only way I can really go with Assunção is if I think he's going to have an offensive grappling advantage, which he's not in this bout, and a definitive striking advantage where I can assure you he's going to stay on the feet the entire time, and he wins. I mean, he has a striking advantage in this bout, but I mean, it could go to the ground at times, or he could be trying to fend off takedowns, that type of thing. Like I said, I think he has. There's certainly advantages. He's got a significant skill advantage, but the price is just too steep for me, given the way how his fights typically play out. Moving on up into well into the main card at this point, a middleweight bout between two guys that we'll just introduce them. Nate Marquardt, Cesar Ectocooler Mutanch. Wes, do you care at all here? I mean,
oh yeah. I care that Ectocooler was opened at -155.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I played that to win the max. I believe it was 2.5 units. So. Yeah, Nate is done. If there's a guy in this sport that is fucking done, it's Nate. Don't get me wrong at all. Nate could absolutely land something fucking stupid like he did against Tando. Yeah, against McCrory not long ago. But I can't see that, man. Caesar's gotten good, man. He's not great or anything, but that guy's gotten pretty good at fighting. I mean, he used to have one of the glassiest chins in the sport. And now I think he protects himself more. He fights a lot more smart. I can't see Nate winning this fight, man, unless it's just some crazy fluke, hit it out the park home run. And I thought -155 was just kind of crazy. So that's my biggest bet on the card.
I mean, he couldn't beat a Vitor that was basically stuck in quicksand, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was weird, but yeah, you get my point.
Alvey too. I mean, Alvey's not. Yeah, he's got some bad luck.
He's no Roger Bannister. I get it.
Yeah, I'm pretty pissed that I missed that opener at minus 155. That was a steal in my opinion. Now that he's up to minus 280, I can't play that. I think I'm going to play doesn't go to the decision. I know both these guys have been to a couple decisions recently, but Marquardt's done. And Moutonche does have still a sketchy chin. So I think one of these guys is going down. Much more likely that it's going to be Marquardt. But at minus 140, I got to take doesn't go to the decision with the history and the chins of these guys.
Yeah, I'll definitely sprinkle that myself too. Gives me a little cover on Nate catching him.
I got Moutonche a C, Marquardt a C minus. I mean, for me, it comes down to just activity, and Moutonche is way more active than Marquardt. I don't think I could ever trust Moutonche again in a fight, just because he's been so undependable, and glass-jawed throughout the years, as Wes alluded to. You like to think something's changed, but I'm not sure you really ever develop a better ability to take a punch. I mean, it just doesn't seem like that happens. And maybe it's just kind of luck, or it's by chance it hasn't hit. Things haven't hit him the same way in some recent bouts. So I personally can't trust him, but there's a lot of advantages here for Moutonche to win this bout, and we'll see how that plays out. 3 fights left on the card. It looks like Andrei Arlovsky's returning at heavyweight and giving another nameless heavyweight young fighter a chance to develop a name off of him.
What do you think the record is for most losses in a row in the UFC?
I want to know how many he has right now. Is it 5?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's 5.
There was a chick. Who did we just looked at?
How many did Gomi lose in a row?
It wasn't 5, I don't think.
There was a chick we looked at not too long ago where she had 3, 4, 5 losses in a row, and we was like, "How the fuck is she still?" I can't fucking remember.
Can't be.
Yeah, there was somebody.
They haven't been around long enough. Jessica I?
Gomi has 5 losses in a row right now.
Who?
Yeah, is it I? Oh. How many losses in a row did I? It was one of them chicks that's got 4 or 5 losses in a row too.
I think it's 5 losses is a fucking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Jessica I has 4 losses, and then she won 1, and then she lost 1 before that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I knew we looked at somebody not long ago and was like, how the fuck is she still in the UFC?
Oh, Caitlin Curran's probably up there too.
Yep, she could be. That's a good point. Wes, let's start with you on this bout.
Yeah, I mean, Arlovsky's probably about done. I mean, Arlovsky was done 7-8 years ago, and then rose back from the dead like Undertaker, coming back up from the fucking ring. But saying that, who the fuck is Junior Albini, dude? Seriously, Andrei Arlovsky's almost 3-1 to some dude named Junior. That's not Dos Santos. I'll probably have to sprinkle on Arlovsky here. I mean, he's probably going to get knocked out, but I mean, it's heavyweights. It's Arlovsky, 3-1. Yeah, that's worth a little stab.
Okay. New Sean.
Yeah, I can't blame you for that. Heavyweights is fucking stupid, and Albini, I know Arlovsky's just so done. We just talked about it. He's lost 5 in a row. I mean, he might set a new record this weekend with 6 losses in a row, but Junior Albini is a nobody. He knocked out Timmy Big Dick, which was impressive, but
that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That is it.
This guy's Sherdog picture is hilarious because he looks like a fucking welterweight in the picture, yet he's supposedly 265 pounds. It does not make sense.
He ate a lot of steak.
He must have been a little more than steak because he is fucking ballooned up from that picture. I'll pick Arlovsky. It's heavyweights. He's plus 280. I'll take a stab.
Yeah, it does seem a little crazy. I got both these guys C-. Hard to really know with Arlovsky what you got at this point. 5 straight losses is pretty stunning. Albini came into the UFC, looked good in his UFC debut, but again, I mean, it's a pretty solid win over Timmy Big Dick. But is it a one-hit wonder? Certainly facing a fighter with way more technical prowess than Timmy Big Dick does. But I feel like this is, a chance for. I mean, you can look at it both ways, really. You can look at it as like the UFC's trying to get Arlovsky a win so they could put him again in like a fight, or they're just trying to give a new guy an opportunity. I just think new guy, young, pretty good chin. He's going to get the win.
He should.
You're right, though. At those odds, that's kind of like a tout master dog play. I mean, you kind of have to. I don't really see the other way around it. Co-main event, 2 fights left. Interesting enough bout. I mean, I wish it happened earlier, but it's interesting. Diego Sanchez moving up to welterweight, taking on Matt Brown. The dude, he's back. Wow.
Wait, hold up. This fight's at welterweight?
You bet
your
ass.
I didn't even realize that. Oh, shit. Yeah, that does change a little bit. Yeah, just my thinking on here. I know this is it's supposed to be Matt Brown's retirement fight, but Sean was saying that now he's kind of going back. Yeah, he's going back on that a little bit. But honestly, is that any better? Like now your mind's not even clear. Now you're thinking, is this going to be my last fight? Is it not going to be my last fight? If this was absolutely his last fight, you would think he goes all out for everything, Now is he thinking, squeak out a win here, and then just, looking at, I mean, it's crazy. Matt Brown is older than Diego. Matt Brown has more fights than Diego has. So just all that, the weight class kind of throws me off. I don't know why I was thinking Matt Brown was a 155er. I guess just because he's fighting Diego. But man, this is another one that's just at almost 3-1. That in what should be a close fight. Give me some Diego, man. I mean, you know what you're gonna get out of Diego in a fight, man. He's gonna bring it. So yeah, at 3-1, we've seen this story before. I'll take some of that.
New Sean.
Gotta love Diego. Starts his career at 185, then drops down to 170. Oh, 155. Oh, let's go hit 145. Why not? Yeah. And then back up to 155. Now we're back at 170. Like, ugh. He got flatlined against De La Quinta. That is not a good sight. And then he got flatlined a couple fights before that by Joe Lozon.
Matt Brown did too.
That's true. Diego needs his chin though for the way he fights.
Yeah.
Matt Brown didn't look horrible in that Cerrone fight until he got leveled. The odds are too high for me to take Matt Brown, but I am taking a look at the under. Under 2.5 is minus 150. I think one of these guys is going down, and it's probably going to be Diego, and it's probably early. But Matt Brown talking about retirement is kind of sketchy as well. Maybe Diego hits him in the body and drops him. That could happen too. I don't want to side. I think I'll just take the under in that fight.
Yeah, I got Matt Brown a C and Diego Sanchez a D. I mean, moving up in weight. Diego Sanchez has not fought well in what seems like years now. Yeah. I mean, Matt Brown, you could say, he's vulnerable, thinking about all these things. But man, I mean, Matt Brown could land and it could be over. Diego's, I think, completely shot while Matt Brown's mind might be out of it. He can still brawl. And
one body shot.
To a guy who's really not a welterweight. So I like Matt Brown here to get the win, and I'll be looking at inside the distance. Main event time. Really interesting bout. What should be entertaining. Lightweights. former champion Anthony Showtime Pettis taking on Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Wes.
Yeah, this is a really good fight, man. I've been a Poirier fan for a long time, man, a really big fan. I think he's a really talented fighter. Man, it just seems like he's kind of got that Masvidal look a little bit, to where when he gets into the big spots of his career, he just doesn't show up. It's happened to him a couple times. And then I just think when he gets into fights with guys that are brawling like an Eddie Alvarez or something, that's his type of fight. And I think he struggles with guys that are more technical and stuff like what Anthony Pettis is. I just think that type of striking gives Poirier problems. So I'm leaning towards Pettis in this fight right now. I've been going back and forth because, like I said, I'm a big Dustin fan, and I think it's a close fight. I mean, I could absolutely see Poirier throwing a 2 or 3 punch combo and hurting Pettis. I mean, we saw him hurt Eddie. So it's a close fight, but I just think the technical striking and the all around game, I think Pettis has just got a better all around game than Poirier. I think that's going to show up over the course of a 5-round fight. And if I'm having a decent night, I'll probably sprinkle on Pettis. So yeah, Pettis is going to be the pick in a really close fight.
New Sean.
I think Dustin Poirier's best way to win this fight is to wrestle. Pettis still has terrible takedown defense, but he's still a very, very good striker. Like Wes said, he's just way more technical than Poirier. I like Pettis in this fight. I know I can never put any decent amount of money on Pettis ever again, just because it feels like he's just totally regressed as a fighter. I guess he just had too many fights too early on. I don't know what it was, but he's got terrible takedown defense, and sometimes he just doesn't strike as well. But if he shows up, I think he can do some bad things to Dustin Poirier. It is a 5-round fight, so I think Pettis has a lot of opportunities to catch Poirier. Pettis has always been durable. I mean, Holloway took him out, but that's Holloway, and Dustin Poirier is not Max Holloway. So I will put a small bet on Pettis just because of the better technique, and just hope that he throws, and hopefully he doesn't get just grounded out.
I got Pettis a B, Poirier, Pettis a B+, Dustin a B. So small advantage for Anthony Pettis. From a skill perspective, or just from an actual technical perspective, I prefer Pettis. Dustin definitely higher volume, come out aggressive. I expect Dustin to have some success in the first couple of minutes of this bout, but I think he needs to finish in the first in order to win. As the fight wears on, I expect Pettis to start getting the better of Dustin. Dustin's gotten more tired in recent bouts. Anthony Pettis moving back up to lightweight, it's definitely been better for him. And Wes kind of alluded to this before, is that really Dustin's kind of shit the bed in big fights. Really has. Finds ways to lose. He's very hittable on the feet. His ability to take a punch is not as good as maybe some of the other top level or close to top level lightweights are on the roster. Pettis maybe doesn't have the most natural power in the division, but he can be precise, and he can land, and he's unorthodox, and he's got 25 minutes to really do it, and I think he's certainly capable of doing so. Dustin's also been hurt in fights, and then he gives up positions on the ground, and he gets submitted. Anthony Pettis has an underrated submission game. If he lands, I could definitely see him following up and scoring a submission on the ground. Pettis has finished once in his career. Very, very durable. Arguably the most durable fighter in the weight class. So Dustin's have to go 25 minutes, I feel, to get the win in this bout. That's going to be really difficult. I just think Pettis has way more ways to win and ultimately gets the job done. maybe third round. And that's, I think, about it for this fight card. I think we'll be back next week. UFC, I think, heads to Australia, I think. We'll see about that. Maybe. You never know.
See about that.
It's Australia, so yeah, it's always not one of our favorite places to go. But this should be a pretty good event. You should definitely check out the main event as well. If, as Matt Brown and Diego, that's going to be a fun one for as long as it lasts. Until next time, enjoy the fights.